Welcome, true readers. I am Michael for Spirit Comics. This is not a review. This time, it's a bit of commentary. I was going to go see the movie Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman yesterday, but I didn't get to, and I was browsing around Facebook and came across Kristy Marston's own a timeline. She is the granddaughter of the man who created the character. And this journalist or your writer, whatever, said the atmosphere got a little tense during an otherwise cheery Sunday afternoon, New York Comic-Con. Can't this writer even put together a sentence? The atmosphere got a little tense during an otherwise cheery Sunday afternoon New York Comic-Con panel about the upcoming biopic Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. Okay, maybe it's just because I was raised, with grammar, but that sentence sort of sounds confusing to me. Anyways, the film, written and directed by Angela Robinson, follows the lives of Wonder Woman creator William Marston, his wife Elizabeth Holloway Marston, and their living companion Olive Byrne. The first question at the panel came from pop culture scholar, seriously, you can be a pop culture scholar? Travis Langley, who recently co-edited a book about Wonder Woman's history and psychological significance. He took issue with the fact that the movie depicts Holloway, the wife, and Byron, the living companion, as being lovers, when there's no public record of that being the case. It's only known that Marston, was sexually involved with both of them individually. How, he asked, did Robinson come to that conclusion? And this is what the filmmaker said. That's a difficult question because I did talk to a source who said that was her interpretation. Okay, so the filmmaker talks to someone who says that the wife and the living companion being lovers is the source's interpretation. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Not. Okay, Robinson went on to say, I think there's a lot of facts that are indisputable about the Marstons, and I feel there's a lot of room for interpretation. Okay, when you go and look up a family's history, you need to go to the horse's mouth. In this case, the son of William Moulton Marston, or the granddaughter. Oh boy. When you're talking about a family, you don't interpretate their history for your own gain, or just to make yourself look good. And this article continues on. Later, another questionnaire brought the topic back up and pointed out that Jill Lepore's 2014 History of the Marston Triad, unrelated to Robinson's film, which the auteur, okay, that's a word I did not know, so I had to look it up. So, an auteur, a filmmaker whose personal influence and artistic control over a movie are so great that the filmmaker is regarded as the author of the movie. Wow, I did not know that. Which was the auteur, the filmmaker, began years prior to the book's release. Didn't come to the same conclusion. I think you can kind of go back and forth debating some of the finer points, but for me, As a filmmaker, that was what I wanted to do, Robinson replied. We caught up with Robinson after the panel to discuss the movie, the interpretation she derived from her research, and her relationship to the Marston family, among other topics. And she's going to skip the origin. She basically got it from a book given to her by someone named Les Daniels. And down here it says, what research did you do? What research did you do subsequent to that book that she read? Because there wasn't a ton of information out there, and there wasn't a whole lot out there. I started 8 years ago, and there wasn't very much at the time. So I went to the Smithsonian and read all of Marston's letters. Really, the Smithsonian has Marston's personal letters? A lot of it was, I took a deep dive into Marston's writings. He wrote a lot of books, especially this book called The Emotions of Normal People, which is amazing. The first line of it is, "Are you normal?" Which just kind of broke my heart in a way, in the best way. And then I'd find as much biographical stuff about the Marstons that I could. And she just said there wasn't a whole lot out there. That's information. The hardest part was figuring out the context in which they lived. I had to learn a lot about early psychology to figure out how out of step he was with his contemporaries with what he was doing. I had to learn a lot about the science behind the lie detector and a lot about the publishing world. They were the characters, but a lot of the research was figuring out how to write them as part of the times they were living in. Okay, that's a whole lot of nuttin'. Then this article continues on. Did you do interviews with the surviving people who knew them or members of the family? Very important. And this filmmaker says, not extensively. I really made the decision early on that I wanted to kind of explore my own interpretation of what the story was. Okay, so she did not want to go to the family and get the facts. F-A-C-T-S. Facts. Okay. She did not want to get the facts. I didn't want to. I was trying to figure out. I felt like their story had been kind of hidden from history for a long time, and I kind of wanted to excavate and interpret what I found and then write the film. Oh my gosh, how I can't even think of the right word. That is just, I can't think of the right word. You don't make up facts. You don't make up facts about history, about a family's history. My gosh. Then the next question is, one component of that interpretation that got brought up at the panel was the queer relationship between Olive, which is the living companion, and Elizabeth, the wife of William Marston. Was that based on research you'd done, or was that just your interpretation? A very good question. And the answer she gave is, I mean, it's both. Okay, she says, it's both? It's research and her interpretation? That seems a little muddy to me. You know, this is one of those things that's kind of tricky about history, especially history that's been obscured because of the relationships and because of society and many things, but there's certain facts that are indisputable about the Marstons' lives, which everybody agrees on, and there are certain ones that are open to interpretation. You know what I mean? It's how you choose to interpret those facts. So that's how I choose to interpret them. That I don't know how else to say except that it's open to interpretation. Okay, this filmmaker obviously never went to school. And I'm talking grade school, middle school, high school, or any type of college. Because simple information here, just simplicity here. You do not interpret facts. Facts are facts. You cannot interpret facts. My gosh, I mean, I am blown away by I'm trying to think, I know the word I'm trying to think of, I just can't think of it right now. Okay, the next question is, were you nervous about portraying those kinds of speculative, good word, interpretation, speculative interpretations, given that they were about real people with surviving family? Very good question. Long pause. In a way, I felt like I kind of went on my own journey. Oh, I swear it's the filmmaker is trying to make it all about herself. Discovering, trying to do detective work, and what I came to was that the Marstons were these wonderful people who she never got to know, with a lot of love in their life. I was especially struck by the fact that Elizabeth, the wife, and Olive, the living companion, lived together for 38 years after Marston died. So to me, I wanted to tell a story about the love and what I thought was happening. Oh gosh, you did not tell your own interpretation of facts. It's just so simple. And she says, what interactions did you have with Warner Brothers, given they own the character of Wonder Woman? Well, she says that she showed the film to Zack Snyder and his wife, Deborah Snyder, and told Zack Snyder that he was the first to actually see it. And she says, how'd that come about? And this is where the filmmaker mentions Kristy Marston, the granddaughter of William Marston. And the filmmaker says, we reached out to them. We actually recently reached out to the Marston family too. I'm kind of going back and forth with William Moulton Marston's granddaughter, Christy Martin, to see if we offered to show her the film, and to see if she wanted to see it for herself. But Zack and Debbie Snyder, they watched it. Debbie cried at the end. She was very moved by the film, and Zack loved it. So that was super exciting. We showed it to Gloria Steinem recently, who also loved the film. That's pretty cool. And I will be continuing this article here in the next segment. True believers, this is segment 2 of my commentary on this article regarding the filmmaker of Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman. Okay. Now, this is the next part of the article, which the interviewer says, had you reached out to Kristy Marston while working on the film? And the filmmaker's answer is, basically, when I finished, I reached out to her. But not while working on the film. After. When she finished the film. I actually reached out to her then to see if she wanted to. So I reached out and offered to show her the film, and we're trying to set up a screening. We're going to see if she wants to see it. And the interviewer asks the same question again. But had you been in contact while you were making the movie with the family, with Kristy Marston, the granddaughter? The filmmaker says no. And the next question is, was that a conscious choice? And the answer is, yeah, I didn't actually talk to. It was a conscious choice because I really just wanted to have my own interpretation of the story. She wanted to have her own interpretation of the facts, as she's said previously. And the next question is, are there legal ramifications for that because of life rights or anything? And the filmmaker says, no, I went through an extensive legal process with the film. I had to legally clear everything that I say with the film and went through that process. Okay, I guess so she's got her butt covered. Alright, now this next question is, I want to talk about the scene where Olive is backlit in the burlesque outfit that ends up being the prototype for the Wonder Woman costume, how that came together in your mind, and Olive was the live-in companion. She says, for me, there's a certain tableau, and another word I didn't know, so I had to look it up. A group of models, read this with me. A group of models or motionless figures representing a scene from a story or from history. A tableau vivant. So synonyms: picture, painting, representation, illustration, image, and others. So motionless figures, in other words, the woman, the live-in companion, I guess they're portraying her as acting like a dummy. For me, there's a certain tableau that represent Wonder Woman, and it's kind of a dialect between fantasy and reality. So there's the scenes where they're exploring their sexuality by putting on costumes. Really, the question had nothing to do with sexuality. Imbecile. In this kind of role-playing and being other people, so to me, it kind of represented not only Wonder Woman, but being the truest version of themselves in a place where they could really be free. So I thought a lot about that tableau, and again, that's a word which basically means dummies, motionless figures. There's the first tableau, motionless figures, when they're hooking up and you see Olive, the living companion, in the toga against the pastel sky. That's really signature Wonder Woman iconography. No, it's not. Yeah, Gal Gadot kind of looked like that in the movie, but in the Wonder Woman comic books, everything that I've ever read, since 2016 and some from the 1980s, she is never dressed in anything that resembles a freaking toga. Jeez. Then I talked about how I wanted to create these moments that were powerful, where you felt Wonder Woman that weren't literal. Really? Then I talked about how I wanted to create these moments that were powerful, where you felt Wonder Woman that weren't literal. Is it me, or did that sentence make zero sense? But I worked with the production designer on a comic book inspired backdrop and worked with the cinematographer to create the aesthetics of the silhouettes appearing. Actually, we gave a ton of thought to. Donna Maloney was the costume designer to Olive's outfit. I didn't want it to literally be a red, white, and blue anything because it's subjective to them. Really? Wonder Woman has always been red, white, and blue. Somewhere in her costume there's always been red, white, and blue. I just want it to be inspiring but not literal, so in that moment we kind of chose this slate gray outfit. But that there's a red light and a blue light. There was a lot of work to create that one moment in this film, which is invocative but not literal at the same time. Okay, big words for me. Next question. My knowledge of the Marstons mainly came from Joe Laporte's book about them, and one thing that struck me about how she interpreted William was that she seemed to think he was a bit of a grifter and an exaggerator. That doesn't seem to be your view. Do you feel Laporte's interpretation was unfair? Okay, that's not a good question to concentrate on. The artist who drew the first Wonder Woman stories, Harry Peter, isn't really in the story of the film. Was that an issue of time constraints? Now keep in mind, most films today in the present 2012 have good budgets for where they can be 2.5 hours if they want, if that's what the directors want. And this filmmaker says, I wish honestly the hardest part of the story was winnowing it down to 1 hour and 45 minutes playing time. You could make a whole miniseries or TV show. There's so much to the story. I would have loved to go more into the intricacies of the publishing world and Harry Peter and comic publishers MC Gaines and comics editor Sheldon Mayer. There was a whole world there, but I just didn't have time. I really hope that Warner Brothers gets a hold of this woman and that she has to settle for some deal, because she does not own the rights to the image of Wonder Woman. I've seen the commercial for the movie, and the image of Wonder Woman is used in the commercial. The 1930s Wonder Woman. The same one which was printed. Warner Brothers owns DC Comics because they bought DC Comics a number of years ago. I think she's treading on very thin ice by making this movie. Okay, then they actually go into this. To what extent did you want to tell a story that was a positive depiction of polyamory? I can't say that word for some reason. I'm not even going to go into that. Because, what did you... Oh yeah, here's a good question. What did you think of the Wonder Woman movie this summer? I loved it so much. It was really an emotional experience for me to see it. I've talked to a lot of women, young and old, at this point, and they were like, I totally cried through the Wonder Woman movie, and I did not expect to do that. I thought it was just me, but now I realized that was a lot of women's experience. I thought Patty Jenkins just killed it. It was so powerful, and she got Wonder Woman so right, which is no easy task. Well, apparently, this Angela Robinson who made this movie, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman, didn't do her research properly. I mean, come on, folks. Let's be honest here. If there's not information on an individual that's dead, that has passed away, it's most likely because the family that's surviving of the individual does not want the public at large to know about what happened in that individual's history. There are just some items in a person's history that do not need to be made public. William Marston, he's the creator of Wonder Woman. He's a creator. That's all we need to know. Now, I do remember some months back, Linda Carter, I believe, tweeted on Twitter, and she is the one who played Wonder Woman in the 1970s on television. She tweeted, I believe, that she went and met the son of Marston, of William Marston. But she did not say, anything that she had learned about the creator of Wonder Woman. She just said that they were a lovely family, I believe. And that's all she needed to say. She didn't need to go into great detail. She did not need to divulge anything about William Marston that she may have learned, because it was her visit to the Marston family. And apparently that's what this director did not take the opportunity to do, is to talk with the family, to verify with the family what was truth and what was fiction. I can honestly say now that I have read this filmmaker's comments, her very own words. I can honestly say that I will not be going to see this movie. I am Michael for Spirit Comics. I hope you've enjoyed this commentary. I know I ranted a little bit, but hey, sometimes I do that. You haven't heard me do it much, but sometimes I do. Please do subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, Spirit Comics, and smash that bell so you will be notified of all future uploads. Please give this video a like and share it with others so they can enjoy it as well. Till next time, true readers, keep on reading.